in America we got a tradition. I guess this is the entire world, but that on New Year's Day you eat black-eyed peas, and I seem to recall that black-eyed peas was served. Actually, my parents said it was served in the north to pigs, but down in the south, people ate it as a food. I guess in the north, it was kind of people just didn't think it was all that tasty. And there is a story in the Bible about the prodigal son, and he ended up leaving his father, going off to pursue his all the things he wanted, and he ended up working in a pig farm, and the pigs were eating slop that and he was like, if I was only back with my father, I would be eating. If I could just like be a servant, I would be eating. I would have food, and I can't even eat the stuff that the pigs have, because he wasn't. He was given dirt wages, so he was less than a pig. And in the Jewish culture, the pigs are, you don't eat pig meat, and so it's a very disgusting animal, I guess. And so the idea was that even these disgusting animals that we can't even eat um, are eating this porridge of stuff, and that stuff would be tasty to me, but nobody around me will even feed me, and I'm starving to death. And so he ends up going back, and you hear this story of a lot of people that will go off to like Los Angeles to make it big as a star, and then they end up um, like starving to death, and then they return home. This happened with the guitarist for the Police. He went to Los Angeles to try to make it big there, and he ended up like living on almost nothing, and he returned to England after doing that. I heard that in one of his stories. But anyhow, the thing is the key is that maybe um, this whole tradition of eating black eyed peas on on New Year's Day maybe was a tradition, or maybe it should be a tradition to be in the same light as the Thanksgiving ceremony. Um, and the Thanksgiving, what that was there was Indians that came to the rescue of the pilgrims. I mean, came to the rescue the pilgrims from starvation, and that's what started our Thanksgiving. So in both cases, the black eyed peas and the turkey, it's to help us to be more thankful. And I've already said that Saint Nicholas, story of Saint Nicholas is what inspired Santa Claus. That this was a guy who was rich, but he wanted to pursue Christ, and in that he had to give up a lot of things, and he didn't really get it didn't make sense for him to give up his wealth, but he made it so that that wealth was only for other people, not for him. And so he used it to better other people, to serve other people. And he saved three daughters from prostitution, because in that culture at that time, women were it was so misogynist. Women were so, I don't know if it was misogynist. It was just women just were not capable of getting work apart. Um, so if you look it up in Wikipedia, it'll say it was like four things that you could become. You could either um, live off your parents' wealth, but if your parent was poor, you couldn't. You could become a uh, entrepreneur. You know, a storekeeper could start a business, get married, and if you can't do that, then you become a prostitute. And so Saint Nicholas gave a lot of wealth, which doesn't make any sense in the real world, to these three daughters. And so philanthropy at that time didn't make any sense to a lot of people. It didn't make sense to give great wealth or whatever to people, just poor people, and for nothing. And that is what probably started the Santa Claus idea. But you don't tell your children about prostitution. So what do? You give them Santa Claus. You give them a tradition of about giving, and then you put in other kinds of things in there that tries to inspire children to be, um, to be good. And I would say to the parents that if your children weren't good, you just don't give them much of a Christmas present, and just to let them know that you just weren't good just like with the song, I'm getting nothing for Christmas, right? So, but the thing is that I can't really say that because my parents always gave me good stuff regardless of my behavior. So I guess they were very forgiving of me. But I think I would probably not have. I don't know if I turned out crappy or good or what. And I don't know where this stuff is coming from. And it hits me. I can see patterns. I can see things that are similar, and the best I can hope is that it inspires someone, and that's what I do this. I desire to put some ideas out there in the world, and maybe somebody grasps on into it and runs with it. But if you look at my past videos, I was rather paranoid, and I'm still kind of paranoid that the world that I'm in is all made up and I'm really in hell. But um, the way I deal with that, because in the Christian religion, we had a song called If the Devil's in the Way, We Should Run Right Over Him. And so the devil is forever finding ways to get at you. And what he does to me is he manipulates the technology around me. Um, he, I don't know if he can jump inside of me and control me, but it's there's all sorts of weird junk that happens to me all the time. And and the thing he keeps gnawing on me with is that you're already fucked. You're going to hell. Just give it up. And in my mind is like, yeah, and that sounds like somebody that's gonna lose something. Is like you're losing a bet. So you're sitting there trying psychops on me to try to see if you can psych me out and go your way. Fuck you. And that's my attitude. It's what I call resistance training. So, and because otherwise, if I gave in to him, then he my belief is that he doesn't care about what he has. He always wants another person. He just All he's doing is he's just trying to see how many people he can get on his side so that he can diss God. And the people he has, he doesn't give a shit about. And that's the thing is that you don't mess with this guy because I mean, you don't worship this guy. Even if you've got problems and you feel like you're unforgivable and all that stuff, just get up and walk and just don't even pay attention to this shithead, because that's all he wants. He just wants you to keep, you know, uh, if I can do it, I mean, if I can walk forward even with the problems that I've got, and I just put them out there before everybody, everybody can do this. But don't if there are people around you that say this is all bullshit, um, I think those people are not really looking deep enough. I think they're looking on the surface, and some of them are being controlled by demons. They don't understand that there's something going on here that is super bizarre. And then I mean there's a part in the Bible that says that if you fail to believe the truth, then I'll send forth a great delusion and I'll make you believe it. So You see these people that like believe in all sorts of crazy stuff. Those are people that decided not to believe the truth. And the thing is that you need to like, I mean, there are not going to be a whole lot of people that are going to believe this stuff that I'm talking about. And that's because they desire something that they can touch, something they can grasp onto, that's physical, that's tangible. Because to them that's real. But religion is about the things you can't touch, the things you can't grab, the things you can't describe, the things that are in the unknown. And and evolution and science is only the study of the observable universe. That's what my dad, who is a physicist, a nuclear physicist, a chemist, tell that to your chemist friends. A chemist and a physicist at the same time. He was both. And he did laser physics, and he did worked with gases and liquids and all sorts of stuff. And what he was doing was he was using lasers to try to reduce high level nuclear waste to low level nuclear waste using fluorine gas and stuff like that. Sometimes he'd come home from work and say, "Oh, damn it, I forgot to fill the trap." So he'd go back out to work and put liquid nitrogen in these things called traps. And if he didn't, then he would lose his gases or something. They would turn into something else. And so he had to do that every night in order to keep the state of the gases and stuff that was in his setup. But he was Christian too, and he led the babies, um, the babies in church. When people come to church, they take the children and they have them go to their classes while the parents are like getting the sermon, because the kids are not going to make sense heads or tail of what's in the sermon. So usually the kids will go off to classes, and after the singing, at least these days, and they'll put the toddlers in a class, and then they'll put the 1 year olds and 2 year olds and three, go up from there. But my father, for the longest time, was given the job of teaching the toddlers, the like um, the kids who could just barely walk, or babies or whatever, they stick them in there. And he would do things like, hello, who's here today? And he would put it like he'd have this little tube, and he'd put his hand through it, play peekaboo, put his hand through it and shake the hand of the kid. And he would do this to every kid. And then he would say something over and over again about, God made this and stuff. And I'm sure the kids don't understand any of it, but he tried to be entertaining to them, so that try to keep their attention and interact with them. And you know that's that's what you need to do with children, is interact with them. And because if you don't interact with them, then you're neglecting them, and the neglect is almost the same as abusing. In fact, I knew a guy named Jay Norman. He said that he attended a base a birthday party of a certain Jeffrey Dahmer when he was like 10 years old, and seemed perfectly fine. But if you look into Jeffrey Dahmer's story, I think the thing is his parents didn't abuse him; they neglected him, probably. Neglect can do all sorts of things to a child. It's basically Elton John was neglected by his father, if you've seen Rocket Man. And so it can be very detrimental to children if you don't interact with them. And so if you have that, but however, Phil Collins' father kind of not didn't like really interact with him so much, because he was a military person, and military person tend to have kind of a stone face or whatever, and didn't show a whole lot of a whole lot of emotion or whatever. But he did it in his own way, and he said to the other fathers of the members of Genesis, these kids have got something, and we need to do our best, put money together and get them instruments, because this is their dream or whatever. And so it was because of no, it wasn't Phil Collins. It was Mike Rutherford's father. It was yeah, Phil Collins came in later, I think. Um, it was Mike Rutherford's father that did this, and that's I learned about that through the song "In the Living Years." I read up on the story, but anyhow, yeah, just be thankful for what you have, and I think that's really what the idea behind these, or we can make it that way, that these black eyed peas is just think uh, every single holiday that we've got here is just to be thankful for what we have, rather than thinking about what we might get, like at Christmas time. Um, Because for me, Christmas was just like about getting some big, great thing that I couldn't get for myself. And, but to some degree, I think it kind of ruined me. And it's probably the reason why I didn't get a great paying job and go out and be independent. But I don't see that as actually being better, because when you're independent, unless you have a family, unless if you're a part of an extended family, you're kind of alone, and being alone for too long might cause you to go crazy.